So the thing I wanted to pitch to you was how to um, how to get more people to watch the Oscars. Because I was reading that the numbers have been going down and down and down,
Uh-huh.
and fewer people have been watching it. And so I was thinking that maybe what we need is to classy things up again. How do we make the Oscars classy again? And my pitch is essentially two words: digital resurrection. It's quite a simple idea. We
Okay.
take AI of say Marilyn Monroe, and she comes on and she could present the Oscar for Best Actress.
Uh-huh. Well, Disney doesn't own Marilyn Monroe's likeness. Her likeness is actually trademarked, so we couldn't use Marilyn Monroe as a presenter at the Oscars without getting the estate's approval. Have you talked with the Marilyn Monroe estate about this yet?
I was thinking we could have a tie-in with the Academy Award Museum.
Interesting. That's interesting. I mean, it's definitely something we could talk about. But have you spoken with the Academy Awards Museum?
No, but I'll tell you what I have done. I've spoken with Marilyn Monroe herself.
I'm sorry, what?
I've had a conversation with Marilyn. I'm a psychic, and she came to me in a dream, and she said that she's worried that people are going to forget all about her, and it was actually her pitch. Like, she loved the Elton John song "Candle in the Wind," but then she felt it sort of cheapened the whole thing when they gave the when they gave it to Princess Diana, and her and Diana don't get along very well. They're both kind of feisty blondes, and they tend to avoid one another, in the afterlife,
I'm
in
sorry.
a
Can we
classy way.
can we take a step back here for a second? When you said you spoke to Marilyn Monroe in the afterlife, what exactly did you do to attain this conversation with her?
What I do is I'll write down the name of a celebrity that I would like to, who's died, and I would like to have a conversation with, and then I go to sleep, and often I'll dream about them. They'll come to me in a dream, and I'll get messages. I don't know why you're laughing. I get messages from them.
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing. It's just it's the digital interference.
I see. I see. And we could really do something very interesting with the Oscars. For example, can you imagine if we could get Billy Crystal to host the Oscars, even though he's dead?
Um, I believe Billy Crystal is still alive.
Really?
Yes, he's definitely still alive. I think I saw him at Palm Springs last week. Did Billy or Crystal or Marilyn Monroe happen to sign any image release documents to you?
Well, that's not how it works in the psychic realm.
I
It's
see.
not. It's more of a vibe thing than a legal thing.
Well, I appreciate that, but we're still going to run into some legal issues unless you have some other ideas. Then we're going to have to kind of end the meeting. So
Yeah, I'm getting a picture of a male figure. Do you have family member in the next life? I'm getting the initial J.
I do have a grandmother, actually, yes, who's passed on, yes.
Does she have a little bit of a beard? I'm getting a kind of beard energy.
Yeah, she definitely has a beard. Yeah, yeah.
She wants you to know that she's very proud of you and all that you've achieved.
Well, I appreciate that, but unfortunately, unless you have any more ideas for the Oscars, we're going to have to wrap this up. Really,
Oh,
it's not.
the other thing I forgot to mention was that Marlon Brando came to me as well, but for some reason he wasn't wearing pants,
That definitely sounds like Marlon Brando. Yeah, yeah.
and he says he's much happier now that he's dead.
That also still sounds like Marlon Brando. Yep, definitely, definitely.
And he said he'd be quite willing to do something as long as he can get cards with the lines written on them, because his memory is not what it used to be.
Well, I'm a bit confused. If we're doing a deep fake of Marlon Brando, wouldn't it be the other actor wearing Marlon's face? Marlon's spirit wouldn't actually be there.
Yeah. So yeah, I suppose we could have someone write down what the deep fake Marlon would say, and maybe we could do it as puppets. Like Spitting Image in the UK, they had all these puppets that looked like the people. like sort of caricature puppets, you know?
No, I don't watch a lot of BBC.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's basically puppets that look like the people, but much uglier.
Um, what exactly is the attraction of that? Like people turn into the Oscars for glamour, and they're not really looking to watch ugly people.
Well, they're not people; they're puppets.
I'm not really like this doesn't really. I'm not really following this. You know, like
Right. So your grandmother also wants to say that there's something very valuable that she left in a box.
right.
You know, and she wanted you to have it.
Right. Well, my grandmother didn't really have a box per se. No,
Maybe not a box. Maybe it's like a drawer or a jewelry container of some kind.
my grandmother didn't really have a lot of jewelry. You know, she came from a poor village in back home. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Could it be your grandfather? Did he wear a lot of jewelry?
uh, could you please tell my relatives to stay out of my work? I really hate it when my relatives call me at work. But we met because you had some interesting ideas for the Oscars. You said.
You know, for example, I think John Wayne would be a great person to be involved with the Oscars again. You know, and Ronald Reagan. You know, I think Reagan because people know him from the world of politics and also from the world of movies. And also Ronald Reagan's one of those people that it would bring both sides together. You know, we live in a time that's so polarized. But I think the fact that Ronald Reagan was a conservative politician, but also he ran the actors union. So I think he would be a good figure to kind of unite people. You know.
Really? Because all the actors I know hate Ronald Reagan because he was really into union busting and breaking up strikes at the time when he was running it.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that is true. That is true. But I think people still feel a certain nostalgia for the 80s, you know?
But John Wayne also is a little troubling because he was quoted as saying like a lot of horribly racist things.
Right. Yeah, 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 that's true. That's true. So maybe John Wayne could come out and apologize. John Wayne could come out and apologize and do some kind of mea culpa. That he's had some time to think over his comments and he's reflected on them and he realizes that he was an old racist dick.
Did John Wayne speak to you in a dream about this?
Yeah, actually, I did have a dream about John Wayne, and the thing that struck me most about John, which is surprising considering he's been in the afterlife for some time and probably had a chance to think over some of his choices, completely unrepentant racist.
Oh, so John Wayne's still kind of a dick, huh?
Yeah, yeah, very much so. But I think he seems to have gotten even worse, in fact.
Yeah, that kind of unrepentant racist isn't going to work well for the Disney brand, you know? We're trying to be inclusive.
So we put him in a wheelchair because that way, if he does happen to let some kind of little racist ditty slip out, people will maybe make an allowance for him because they'll say, well, maybe it's because he's in a wheelchair and he can't get around the way he used to, you know?
But he's still dead.
Yeah, he is still dead. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He is still dead. And this would be AI John Wayne in a. I mean, you could use a real wheelchair, or we could get an actual actor who is disabled and maybe deep fake John Wayne's head onto the actor. I think that way they would both get paid.
I that's a pretty divisive subject. I don't know if Disney wants to get involved with that necessarily, you know? Um,
Right. Yeah. But just to show that they're not racist, you know.
right. But uh can I ask you something? How did you get this meeting again?
I'm friends with someone who wasn't supposed to send me the link, but they gave me the link and they said to me, whatever you do, don't mention that Tom Kelly gave you this link.
Tom Kelly gave you this link.
No, not Tom Kelly. No, no names, no names. Tom said I could have the link for a price, but please to keep his name out of it. So not Tom Kelly, a different person.
Right, definitely not Tom Kelly who gave you this link to our pitch line
Not
meeting.
at all. No, sorry, I misspoke there. I misspoke. It was a different name that sounds nothing like Tom Kelly. I think it might have been John Kerry who gave me the link.
John Kerry, the former Secretary of State, gave you the link to our line.
Yeah, he came to me in a dream, and he I think it was the same night as I had the dream about Marilyn, and he was in a boat, and he was shooting at all these Vietnamese people, and then he paused for a moment and he gave me the link.
Wow, he's busy, huh? How did you get into being a psychic anyway? I'm just morbid curiosity, honestly.
Oh, it's in the family. My grandmother used to read tea leaves, and she would always start off by looking at the person and saying, sometimes you're happy and sometimes you're not. And she had the gift of second sight, and it came down through the family. And I discovered when I was a child that I could, that I would know things without any earthly explanation. Like I remember saying to my mother, I think grandma's going to die, just before she died. To be fair, we were in a hospice at the time, but I just had a bad feeling about it. She was looking very pale, and she was out of her mind on opiates, and she did stop breathing. But I just had a vibe and a feeling I wouldn't see her again, which is why I tried to remove her jewelry. And in fact, I got into quite a bit of trouble from the nurse and from my family for, in quotes, robbing the dead. But I explained to them, she told me psychically, just before she passed, I want you to look after my jewelry. And no one believed me. But that's what happened. I just knew that she was about to go and that she would have no use for her gold and her diamonds. And I could probably get some money for them from the pawn shop,
Well, look, I appreciate this, but I really have to get going. We're gonna have to wrap this up.
If you ever want to find out more about your family history, or if there's any kind of past life issue you have, any heartbreak, or a loved one you want to be reunited with, or removing bad spells that are being put on you, if you could donate to the Church of the Caledonian Spiritual Foundation, it's basically just me. Then get in touch, and results are 100% guaranteed, or you get your money back.
Great. And how can you guarantee that you're going to speak with my grandmother, since it's kind of a habeas corpus kind of issue?
Well, I've never been wrong. I've never been wrong. Sometimes there's a bit of confusion. Maybe it's a great grandmother, or it's a grandmother on the other side, but I've never been wrong. I've never been wrong. Never been wrong. And that's why I have such a big customer base. The same person keeps coming back to me.
The same person? Who is that one person?
That's my brother.
Right. All right. Well, you have a great day.
I've got one more thing to pitch.